All right, we're looking at introduction to SQL and some SQL concepts. Now, generally speaking, we can always compare SQL to an instance whereby you have library and there is the need for a librarian, as you can see here. Now, apparently in every library there will be a librarian who helps in the location, organization of books and all that. So now SQL can be likened to a librarian in a library. So for you to get anything in the library, you definitely need the help of a librarian who help you in the retrieval of books, or probably whatever helps that you might be in it. So as you can see here, the book is representing the data, and then you need information about those data. So the person who will help you to retrieve such information is actually SQL in this case, who is playing the role of the librarian. Now, as you can see, the space that is being occupied by the book is actually called the row, and the shelves is representing the tables that we are talking about. So in all of this is just to give a typical real life illustration of what SQL is all about. Now, the next thing is in SQL there's something we call the database. Now, the database is an organized collection of data such that they can be easily accessed, managed, and modified with the help of database management system, as you can see here. Now, there are two types of database management system. We have what is called the relational database management system, and we have what is called non-relational database management system. And when you talk about relational database management system, is actually when the data is stored in the form of table. You understand? So that is what we call the relational database management system. The data are usually stored in the form of table, and typical illustration is something that you see on the screen, as you can see here. Now, we also have employee ID, name, and salary. Each of this vertical representation that you see here is called a column. So we have in this table there are three columns, which is column having the column title employee ID, and we have this one, the name, which is this column, which is the another column, and then we also have this salary column here. So, and then when you have the numbers, each of this, they are called the rows. That's why we have the first row, which is the one that have the title section. We have the second row, we have the third row, the fourth row, fifth row, like that. So, and each of what you see here, they are data, as you can see. That is what we have on that relational. So a very good example of relational database management system is MySQL. We also have Microsoft SQL Server. We also have PostgreSQL, and then we have Oracle, as you can see here. That is what you have. They are the ones being highlighted, so you can just take note of that for some interview questions, as the case may be, in the nearest future when you intend to have one. Now, we have non-relational database management system. In this regard, data are usually stored in the form of key value pairs. Now, a very typical illustration of non-relational database management system is what we call the MongoDB and Redis, like that. We also have some other ones, but just to cut it short, I decided to mention just two here. Now, in this regard, when you say key value pairs, though this is not being put here, but let me just explain that to you in a layman language. Key value pairs is actually talking about a secret code that you use to communicate maybe with your friends. That is what. So as you can see, the key can be compared to a secret word or number that represents something. Now, and the value is the exact thing it represents. Take for instance, if you have a secret code to be maybe your favorite fruit is apple. In this regard, their favorite fruit is actually the key, while the apple is the value. So sometimes you can have it being represented in the form of variable characters, which you call the voucher, having text and numbers possibly, or probably just text. And then you can also have the integers, which is represented by strictly numbers. So you can have that. So please take note of that area. Now, the big question is this: what is SQL itself? Now, I know some of you will say this is SQL. Why pronouncing it as SQL? Well, there has been several debates around this, but in all honesty, SQL is the most common way of pronouncing it. But if it sits well with you, you can actually pronounce it as SQL, SQL, as the case may be. But just understand the concepts and what it actually does. Now, standing for this SQL stands for Structured Query Language. Now, what do you use it to do? You use it to access. When you say access, that means you're also talking about retrieval. You use it to retrieve and manipulate updates, insert, delete, data in a relational database. That is what you use it to do. And this is a diagrammatic representation of what we're trying to depict here: how data are being gotten or distributed in a particular database management system, typically relational database management system. As you can see, you use SQL to retrieve data. That's what this diagram is trying to show you that you can use it to retrieve and even manipulate data. Let's move straight ahead to the next area, which is actually common SQL commands that we have. Now we have several SQL commands, some of them being before I proceed to that, let me first emphasize this. When you see SQL commands, what do I actually mean? Now, these are like functions, these are like formulas, these are like words or expressions, you understand, that you can use while dealing with or while using SQL. Now, we have SQL create command. Now, take for instance, when you say create, what are you trying to do? Let me take your mind back to the beginning of the world where God created the heavens and the earth. So apparently what happened was there was creation, there was production, there was an object or something was made manifest. That's the same thing that we have here in this regard. So for this, it's important to note that you can create tables, because that is the format in which data are being stored in the relational database management system, which is our core focus here today. Now we have the create command. How do you create? Now the syntax are like the structured language, like how a particular thing should be done. You understand? Structured language that you use, like a command, which you call the query. You understand? So because without this command, it will be difficult for a particular query to be or command to be executed correctly in a database. So now, create table. When you want to create table, you have this column 1 data type. The data type, like I mentioned to you, you can have the integer, you can have the varchar, you understand, that's variable characters, you can have different ones, so it must be indicated. Take for instance now, column 1 data type, column 2 data type. So a typical illustration can be seen in this regard, where I said, okay, particular table titled employee. So I'm asking SQL to create this table titled employee. In this employee table, what do I want to have in it? The first thing I want to have is the employee ID, which must be integer, which means there must be a number. It must be a number. You understand? Like it must be numbers or numbers. So now name, I want it to be varchar. That is a variable character. So apparently, what I'm trying to say is that it can have numbers in between letters or whatever the case may be, or probably text. So now salary, I want the salary to be integers, it must be values, it must be numbers. So that is what I'm trying to say here. Now by the time I mention that to the SQL server, the next thing after running that query, if I should run this particular one, if I should run this now in a SQL server, what would happen is that this is what will be executed. This is the result I'm going to have. A table will be created, the employee ID will be the title, the name, and then salary. So apparently what I'm providing inside the bracket, that the title of that table that I'm telling SQL, so I can always insert values into this table as we progress. So let's see the next SQL command, which is insert into. How do you insert your values into this particular table that you have created? Now, as you can see, insert into is the command that you use to insert data or values into that table that you have created over there. So the next thing is there's something we call the attribute. Please take note of that. What do you call attribute? Attribute is the column of a database table. So apparently in a database table, when you are talking about the column, which is the vertical representation, you have what is called the attribute. That is called the attribute. But tuple is the row of the database table. Please take note of this. Now, the syntax for the insert to, how do you insert to? This is how you insert to. Just insert into what? Which table? Employee table. What do you intend to insert? Before you mention what you intend to insert, list the headers, list the title of each of the column. Now, by the so doing, they are going to now follow that same sequence to add the values. What are the values? Now you have 1, 2, 4. You have Peter. You have 1, 2, 3. So what I'm saying with this query or this syntax is I'm trying to say that, you know what, inside employee ID, I want you to insert these values. Put 1, 2, 4 inside the employee ID, put Peter under the name section, and then in the department section, I want you to put 1,300. That is what you have, and that is why this is going to be this way. So it is equally possible to insert multiple values. Yes, that is very, very possible. Take for instance, I want to insert another employee ID, maybe 125, 126, or I want to insert another name, that's employee name. Maybe I want to put something like Stephen, Peter, Raphael, or any other name inside this table, or probably I want to put the salary of each of them. I can always just list them under the values following the same sequence that I have here. So that's the thing that I need you to please take note of. Now we have what is called the select statement. Now when you say select statement, how do I mean? Now you have, like you've seen up there, select statement is like you trying to tell the SQL Server I want to get this particular thing. You understand? This is like asking for a specific type of thing in a place. As you can see here, this is like asking for a specific type of book in the library. Take for instance, like this case study presented here. I went to a librarian and I'm telling the librarian, show me all the books by Robert Greene. Now, this means you can translate this to select all from books where author is equals to Robert Greene. Now you can see there is a conditional statement here where if I want to select just all the books, I will only use this command like select all. Then I'll say select all from author. I will not put where, from books rather. I will not say where. I will just say select all from books. So by the time I run this query, this is going to show me all the books that we have, including the several authors that we have. I'm sure you understand what I'm trying to say here. So we have this, and that is that about that. Moving forward, it is equally possible to insert multiple values into a table. Absolutely possible. Now we'll see as time goes by. Now moving forward again, we have what is called the select all, which I just explained up there. Select all, this is the syntax for that. Select all from employee will return the table. You understand? Similarly, select employee ID from employee will return the column name employee ID, just like that. So there is a statement called from. This is used to specify the tables from which data is retrieved. Now when you say select from, that means you are making reference to where the data must be selected. So apparently when I say select all the data that you have from where? From the employee table. So it's going to retrieve all the information that is under or that are currently under the employee as a table. Moving forward, there is the condition. There's something we call the where. This is used to filter records based on specified condition. Now, how do I mean? Now, look at the examples I cited up there. I said from books where author equals Robert Greene. So there is a conditional statement there that I want you to retrieve only books that were authored by Robert Greene. That's all I want to see. Maybe 48 Laws of Powers and all that. For those of us who love to read, that's just a case study there. Anyway, moving forward here. We also have another one which is group by. This is used to group records as required. Having, this is used to filter groups. You can use it to filter groups. Now order by, this is used to sort the data in ascending or descending order. When you say order is more or less like sorting, like arrangement. When you arrange something either in ascending or descending order. We also have what is called joins. Now this is used to combine data from the tables based on a common field. As you progress in this field, you're going to learn different types of join. We have the inner join, we have the outer join, we have the left inner join, we have the right left outer join, the right outer join, and then we also have several other join. Some people say we'll come to that as time goes by. Now moving forward, we also have limit. This is like a constraint. So limit is telling you how many rows or how many rows that you want in return, like how many rows you want this particular query or syntax to return. You see in some queries you see limit equals to 1, you understand, telling you how many rows you want the computer to. We'll see instances as the case as time goes by. Now we also have SQL constraints. Now like I said, limit for instance. Now when you say constraints, what do I mean? Now I wrote something here. Constraints are rules and restrictions placed on the data in a table, as you can see here. Now let's see examples of SQL constraints. We have index, we have foreign key, we have primary key, we have unique, we have not null, we have default, we have check. All of these have been simply explained in this regard. SQL constraints. These are the SQL constraints that we have. Now this, what do you mean by unique? This simply means the value cannot be the same, which means that when you say something is unique, it means that their values cannot be the same in other places. You understand? So not null, the value cannot be null. Null is like an emptiness. You understand? So I'll go into details of the difference between null and empty. You understand? Like over time, you must be able to understand the reason why they use null, or in some places or in some other places it will be left blank. How do you differentiate between them? And in some places where you have 0. So what's the difference between these three? So we'll differentiate between them. But let's just proceed in this regard first. Now moving forward, we have what is called not null. The value cannot be null in a given column. Primary keys, that means this is used to uniquely identify a row. Foreign key, it makes reference to a row in another table. Check, it satisfies a given condition. Create index, this is used to increase the speed of the read process. Default, this sets the value or default values. Now order of execution. Now let me tell you something. When you are arranging your syntax or you are trying to run a query, this is the order that you must follow. As you can see here, when you are writing your select statement, select from, join. Maybe you want to join the employee table with the let's say employee table with maybe sales table. Take for instance your customers table. Maybe you want to join them to see the behaviors of some um, or maybe you want to visualize things or maybe some KPIs or other metrics that you intend to use as desired by the stakeholders, because that's your major concern. Now you must make sure that you have from where join this particular table on this table. Now at, because they must have a meeting point, they must have something, they must have a particular column in common between them. Maybe the other ID is the common one that you have between them. At least that is going to be their meeting point, like a link between them. So then you group it by what do you want to group it by? Do you want to group it by the revenue? You want to group it by the customer category, or each category group by what? Having is like saying, okay, you want to say this thing at this particular point, okay, having a letter that begins with, or having a value that begins with a particular, so you state that out. Then you also select after. Normally in some query what you have is group by will be followed by ordered by, but in a situation where you have having, the select function will come again, then you have order by. Order by is like sorting your value, which can have ascending or descending at the end. Then limits, like I earlier explained, the limit can be one, the limit can be whatever as your case may be. Differences between alter and update. Look at this statement. Don't mistake this alter and update as being the same. Alter can be used to add, modify, delete attributes of the same of the table, and as such changes the structure of the table. It is a DDL. You understand? It is a DDL. Update, on the other hand, is a DML, used for updating the data in your original table, and it causes changes to the table. Please, I would like to hear from you. What do you understand by DDL and what do you understand by DML? And in this introduction to SQL and SQL concepts, is there anything that I've missed out? Is there anything you want me to explain? Please feel free to put in the comment section. Thanks for watching. See you again.